going through what I eat in a day. Now, this was filmed on a Wednesday, and Wednesday was a 3-hour bike ride followed by an 80-minute run off the bike, and both of them had intensity. So there's quite a bit of calories burned on this day, and I think it'll be a pretty cool video to show you guys how I'm fueling for a day that is burning over 5,000 calories just from exercise. The first meal that I eat of the day is my first breakfast. And the reason I say first breakfast is because there are usually 2 breakfasts that precede the first breakfast, because the only meal that isn't breakfast food that I eat is actually dinner. So the first meal that I'm eating here is rice, eggs, and banana. I actually did a video on this breakfast. I've basically been eating this every day for a really long time. I eat it on race mornings too. It's awesome. And what it is it's like 144 grams of rice. And I know that because that's the little rice cup that comes with the rice cooker. And then I have a banana and I have 3 eggs with it. Basically, this gives me a bunch of carbs and some protein and fats. And I think it's really important to start off the day well, because if you're fueling well throughout the day, if you're giving yourself a big calorie boost in the morning by eating a good amount of carbs, protein, and fat, you're probably going to be well balanced throughout the day. Now, I don't really eat vegetables for breakfast, but I do think this is a good meal. A lot of people will do different things for breakfast on different days. I am not one of those people. I typically like to eat the same thing every single day. So I eat this on race mornings. I'm eating this before an easy training session. I'm eating it before a hard training session. It really doesn't matter. Like, even if I'm going out for a 30-minute easy run, I would eat this anyway. So this is a very good indicator of, like, I like to start my day off this way. Even in the off season, I'm eating this for breakfast just because I really like it. It tastes good, my stomach's good, and I don't really get bored of it. Next up, we headed out on the bike ride. So the bike ride's 3 hours long and had some efforts during it. So I had 5 by 2 minutes low cadence followed by a 30-minute tempo at around half Ironman effort. So the low cadence efforts, I was riding around threshold, which was pretty high. It was like 340 watts for those. And then straight into the tempo, basically, which I did out on the famous Llagostera triangle. And I was riding right around, it was like 295 watts average. And I actually had a pretty good average speed on that too. I was riding around 42.5K an hour or something like that. So pretty good effort. But fuel the ride, what I do is I have bulk maltodextrin. Now, I got this off of Amazon, and I think this is the most cost-effective way to be an athlete. And maybe I could send some emails out and get a nutrition sponsor, but at the end of the day, you can buy 3 kilos of maltodextrin on Amazon for 13 euros and have it at your door in 2 days. I used 2 750 milliliter bottles, and I put 100 grams of carbohydrate powder in there. So 100 grams of that bulk maltodextrin. And then what I also do is I add some salt to that, and I think that's important. Shake it up, put it in there. And then on this ride, I actually might have overfueled a little bit, because after I finished my efforts, I also had these little bocadilla de guayabas, which are these tiny little squares. I'll throw one up on the screen. And I also had 100 grams of a Haribo pack, because I was walking through the store and I was like, that looks good. So I picked out the bag of Haribo, and I also had 1.5 liters of Aquarius. So that's another 270 calories. So this ride was right around 130 grams of carbs per hour, which is definitely on the upper limit of what I needed. There was no reason I needed this much other than I just really wanted the Haribo. So I just took it in anyway. And I also knew I was going to be running off. So it's a good way to test to see, hey, am I eating too much? So I got home off the bike. I felt pretty good the whole time because I had so much to eat. No bonk, no anything. And I filled up my little flask with 60 grams of bulk maltodextrin again, and headed out on my run, which had 15-minute, a 10-minute, and a 5-minute block at marathon effort. So a pretty hard pace. And I'm running with my little gel flask thing, and that had 240 calories in it. And I remember running out being like, damn, I might have to shit myself. And luckily, I did not have to shit myself. It went pretty smooth. No issues there. I had a good run overall. So I came home from the run right around 3:30 p.m. and immediately in my running kit just started making lunch. And again, this is actually breakfast number 2. We had 4 pieces of bread, each of them with some jam on it and some salt on that. And then 3 eggs that were just cooked in the pan and salt and pepper on those as well. So it's a weird thing maybe for some people to be like, why would you eat bread with jelly and eggs? And I'm telling you, it actually hits pretty hard. I will say, really enjoy that meal. some people might comment below and be like, oh my God, I can't believe you eat 6 eggs in a day. Well, I am also training like 4 times more than I'm probably supposed to be training in a week. So come on, it's just going to happen. Now, for dinner, I eat the same thing every single night again. Basically, it's rice as a base. So I have around anywhere from 150 to 200 grams of rice. It really depends on what's coming up the next day. So if I feel like I've under-eaten during one of my big days, let's say it's a long ride, then I'll probably make a little bit more carbohydrate. But on this day, I felt like I had fueled really well on Tuesday, and I had fueled really well with carbs during the bike ride. So I wasn't actually super hungry because I had so many calories during that bike ride. So I just had like 160 grams of rice. And then I steam a bell pepper and an onion in water and soy sauce. And then I throw in some ground beef and some olive oil at the end to cook it all together. And I think that's like a really good flavor mix. And obviously, since I'm American, I have brought a spice mix over from America. So I have the Texas spice mix that I spray on everything, basically. I just sprinkle it all over the meat, and that makes everything taste so much better. And then to top all of that off, I usually do either pesto or a stir-fry sauce or guac. And in this case, I have been on a stir-fry sauce craze lately. So I've been having some sweet and sour and teriyaki sauce along with some soy sauce on top of this. So it's a pretty good meal, and generally this stays the same. Maybe I'll mix it up and throw in some spinach and some broccoli every now and then. Get the veggies in, get the carbs in, get some more protein in from the meat. I think that's super important. So the last things I want to emphasize is that this video, I didn't film everything I ate, but there were also a few snacks in there that I missed. And one of them was going to be like a yogurt bowl. So I actually have one here right now. And it was basically, a bit of the protein yogurt they have at Mercadona. It's literally just 50 grams of protein in a tub of yogurt, no fat and nothing else really. It's kind of crazy. And I usually have like half of that. And so it's like 25 grams of protein. And then I'll put in some cornflakes and some peanut butter. So like 30 grams of cornflakes. And, it's a pretty great snack. And then the last thing I'll usually eat before bed, and this really helps me like stay full, but not eat too much. So I'm not like really like eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's before bed or anything crazy like that. But what I'll eat is a bowl of oatmeal. And I usually have anywhere from 50 to 60 grams of oatmeal, depending on what I'm doing the next day. And I find that this is just like a couple hundred calories, but then it also expands because it's oatmeal. So you get a ton of volume in. It helps if you're someone like me and like you get hungry at night. And, if I'm eating a ton throughout the day, like I don't really need to eat a ton at night, but I will, and I can eat like a whole tub of ice cream. So I find that if I have some oatmeal, so I'll have some peanut butter and a banana in there too, and some cinnamon. But I find that eating this oatmeal really helps me just kind of tie everything over, and it's got water in it, so I'll put some salt in it too. So you just kind of like get some good flavors in, but then it also just kind of helps settle everything down, put you to sleep. Plus, it's got a good amount of fiber in it, so you wake up the next morning, you have your coffee, and you have to go to the bathroom immediately. So I think it's like a really good way to just get some final closing carbs, because I was on this granola train in the past, but it just had so much in it, and like it didn't really fill me up that much. And now I've switched over to oatmeal. I found that this is actually a really good fix for that. All right, and now I thought of some interesting questions that people might want to ask, and the first one is going to be, what grocery store do you go to? And obviously that's Mercadona. Mercadona is life. It is the greatest grocery store ever. I mean, I really love Trader Joe's or Kroger, but guys, it's just not even comparable to Mercadona. Like, that place is unbelievable. What do I think about cheat meals? So I don't really care about like what I eat or anything in particular, but what I found is this is food that helps me perform really well in training. And at the end of the day, my main priority is training really well. And so like if I'm gonna like, yeah, I could probably eat a pound of Ben & Jerry's every night and get away with it, and it would be fine. But like why would I do that if I already know that tastes pretty damn good already? Like, what I'm eating tastes pretty good. Like, there's nothing really bad in it. I don't think there's anything wrong with eating a cheat meal. I wouldn't necessarily even call it a cheat meal, but I just think it's important to remember, like, my job is to train really well, and anything that I can do to help myself train better is a win. And eating really well like this is really simple, and I can cook every single meal at any point in the day for myself. So like, I don't need to go out and buy a gyro or go out and go to sushi every night. Like, I don't need to do any of that. And so I really like this setup because I'm able to just cook my own food, and I think it tastes pretty good, and it's just like, it's easier and it's just less stressful. Do you weigh everything you eat? Yeah, I generally have weighed everything I've ate at one point or another. I don't actually weigh my body. I have no idea how much I weigh, but I generally know how much I am eating. And like certain foods I will weigh out, like oatmeal or cereal, just so I know how much I'm getting in. And then I'll also weigh out my maltodextrin powder before I go and do a workout. And I usually am eating that in most of my workouts because I think it's really helpful. What do you think about low fat diets? This question's for Elliot. I think it's dumb, and I think you should have fat with every meal because fat is important for your joints. I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure it's important. Why do you eat the exact same thing every day? This is another good question, and honestly, it's because it works. I wouldn't do it if it didn't make me feel good. Like, I know I can get all the output that I need to get out of my training if I put this stuff in my body. And if I couldn't do it, I would figure out another way to do it. And there's always a little bit of variation in it, but generally speaking, I really like the rhythm and the pattern of it, and it also reduces decision fatigue, which leads to more creativity in other areas of my life. So if I don't have to think about what I'm making, it's really a lot easier, and like I have a lot going on and I have to push myself hard in training. And so if I'm not having to think about, whoa, what am I making for breakfast this morning? It's so much easier for me to go out and do a new session that I've never done before and push myself. Why don't you eat more vegetables between meals? Well, the reason I don't eat a ton of vegetables is honestly just because like I don't really like eating vegetables before I go for a run. But at the end of the day, I just don't really do it, and I think it ends up being fine. Like if I need to eat vegetables more often, I guess I could. Someone comment down below if you think I need to eat more vegetables. But overall, I mean, I feel like getting a couple veggies in at the end of the day is really all that matters. So yeah, I try to be healthy overall, but at the end of the day, I really need a lot of carbohydrates in my system, and that's how it goes being an endurance athlete. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, hit a subscribe, and also check out the video I did on how much I spend on expenses in Spain for a week. I think it's a pretty cool video. I do go through my grocery bill there, so you can check that out.